Good evening. Today is July 9th, and today I'll continue to be talking about the coronavirus. So the first piece of news I'd like to talk about is that the virus plagued California, which I currently live in, is now facing a new old threat, the wildfire season. Governor Gavin Newsom of California said today that rising temperatures and browning grass were reminders that the pandemic is not the only threat Californians face, and that the fire season has arrived. We are now walking right into the thick of wildfire season, according to the governor, and we must all let us take heed. For Californians, the pandemic compounds an already precarious summer. We were perhaps plagued with a surge in coronavirus cases just now in the summer, with a record number of cases when California was doing relatively fine early on in the outbreak. In Los Angeles, the mayor is warning that he could reimpose stay-at-home orders if a spike in the city does not abate. However, this would not work well if the home you are staying in is threatened by fire. In the summer, the wrong winds could blow any small grass fire out of control. I think last year or the year before that, we had the biggest wildfires in the town of Paradise, which I'm sure gained attention all over the world, and it was just absolutely devastating. As even if we lived miles and miles from the fire itself, we could still see smoke and smog all over the air, and the skies are almost black. This year, the virus has eroded California's ability to keep its citizens safe. Sprawling, hot warehouses have become incubators of the virus, and the state's budget has been hit hard in the pandemic-driven economic crisis, so funding for 500 new firefighters shriveled to 172 instead. COVID-19 outbreaks at state prisons have depleted inmate firefighting crews from 192 to 94. And the normal ways of sheltering people forced to flee their homes had to be updated to accommodate social distancing requirements and eliminate buffet meals, as families fleeing fires may be moved into hotels where individual meals will be packed. So I think with the decrease in funding, this is really dangerous, and that if a wildfire was to start, which it almost most certainly will, then this could cause a very, very, very dangerous signs, as not enough firefighters could let a small fire get out of control extremely quickly, which would definitely not be the result that we want. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is that doctors may be missing signs of serious and potential fatal brain disorders triggered by the coronavirus as they emerge in mildly affected or recovering patients. Neurologists published details of more than 40 UK COVID-19 patients whose complications ranged from brain inflammation and delirium to nerve damage and stroke. In some cases, the neurological problem was the patient's first and main symptom. The case was published in the journal Brain, revealed a rise in a life-threatening condition called acute disseminated encephalomyelitis, or ADEM, as the first wave of infections swept through Britain. At UCL's Institute of Neurology, ADEM cases rose from 1 a month before the pandemic to 2 or 3 per week in April and May. A dozen patients had inflammation of the central nervous system, 10 had brain disease with delirium or psychosis, 8 had strokes, and a further 8 had peripheral nerve problems, mostly diagnosed as the Guillain-Barré syndrome, an immune reaction that attacks the nerves and causes paralysis. It is fatal in 5% of the cases. So COVID-19 is affecting the brain, also the lung, that we haven't seen before with other viruses. You can get quite sick with these neurological conditions, and this case adds to concerns over the long-term health effects of COVID-19, which have left some patients breathless and fatigued long after they have cleared with the virus. So women or patients with no history of psychiatric illness has begun to develop symptoms, and this is all just extremely dangerous, as we can see how fatal or widespread the virus is affecting the body, as the full range of brain disorders caused by COVID-19 may not have been picked up yet because many patients in hospitals are too sick to examine brain scanners or with other procedures. One concern is that the virus could leave a minority of the population with subtle brain damage that only become apparent in years to come, and this may have happened in the wake of the 1918 flu pandemic, when up to 1 million people appeared to develop brain disease. So the best way right now is prevention and to prevent any brain disease by not getting the virus. That's it. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you.